Hi guys, welcome back to Game Night. I'm Mark, and today we're going to be going through the game Masterpiece. It is by Parker Brothers, and is usually played in between 3 and 6 players, although there is a 2-player option that we've kind of discovered. Right? Approximate time to play is give or take 45 minutes to an hour and a half, somewhere in there, kind of depending on how fast you want to move through things and how fast you want to basically bid back and forth. Right? As far as how complicated this game is, I'd call it on a scale of 1 to 10, call it a 4. It's pretty basic, it's fairly simple, although it can get a little bit complicated when you are trying to deal with a forgery and types of strategies to either potentially get rid of it, which I will get to shortly. And then, but overall, it's pretty simple, and there's not a whole lot of complicated strategy to it. Okay, so at the beginning of the game, each player gets $15 million. So it's kind of fun having all that money in front of you. All right. Now, to start with, each player takes a pawn and just places it anywhere on the board that they so choose. Okay, there is no designated starting position. Okay, you roll the dice to see who goes first, and then it proceeds in a clockwise fashion around the table. Also, when you are traveling around the board, you always travel in that same direction. You always travel in a clockwise fashion. So we'll be going this direction. Okay? From there, okay, each square that you land on is a little bit different, and then it just basically is a matter of what is happening in that regards. The object of the game is to accumulate money in both paintings and cash. If you have the most money and basically total value, because a painting's value is valued at the exact same amount as cash at the end of the game, then you win the game. The end of the game is signified by the last painting. Okay, when that leaves your pile, the game is over. Okay, so let's start with bank auction. Bank auction is the most basic form of this game. Okay, so you are bidding on the top painting that is shown, and then you basically just start bidding back and forth, and it is at random, so it doesn't have to be this person, then this person, then this person. It is complete random, so it can go back and forth between these two, and you don't have to bid at all. This is based off of your cash value only. So whatever you have in paintings, it does not matter. It only matters for a bid on the cash that you have in front of you. So I can't bid 8 million if I've only got 3.5 million in front of me. Okay? So when you bid back and forth, the winner of that bid pays the money, as an example, say $2 million, to the bank, which one person will just act as your banker. Okay? Then they take the top card, which was the painting that they were bidding on, and the top value card. These are called value cards. And there's a stack of them, and each value card that you pull up has a value on the back of it. And these range anywhere from $1 million all the way up to $10 million as far as their value. They can also be a forgery. Now, in this case, this is $7.5 million, so that's actually a really good deal. I just bought a painting for $2 million, and it ends up having a value of $7.5 million. So then I'm going to take the value card, and I'm going to pin it to the back of the painting like so, and I'm going to take a clip right here, and I'm just simply going to clip it in place. So then if the painting flips over accidentally, that my other players cannot see what the value is on the back. I can look at this at any moment in time that I want to, just simply by checking. Okay? So that is bank auction, and that's how you would accumulate paintings a lot of the time. Okay? From there, go to private auction. Now, private auction, you are not bidding on a painting from the bank, you are bidding on a painting that you have. So now when you put a painting up for grab, now let's say that he ended up landing on private auction, okay? He can look at his 2 paintings that he has and decide which one he wants to put up for auction for everybody else to bid on. That's the key, is that everybody else is bidding on it, not you. Okay? So, in this case, he has two paintings, and one of them has a much higher value than the other one, so he's probably going to choose the lower one. In this case, it's $1 million. So that's a low painting, and what he's hoping that happens on a private auction is that the other two people will just start bidding and bid more than $1 million, so then he's actually making money in that transaction. Okay? But the private auction is not the paintings from the bank, they are from your own hand. If you land on a private auction, now you'll get the money for it, whatever that person bids, so it doesn't go to the bank. But when that money is passed off, they're passing you whatever they bid for it, say $2 million, and then you're handing them the painting, and then at that moment in time, then they can check what its actual value is. Now, before I mentioned forgeries, we're going to talk about collect $3 million or a value card. When you collect $3 million or a value card, $3 million is obviously cash. That just comes straight to you. And you do want to keep a considerable amount of cash in front of you in this game. Okay? It controls how you are able to bid, and it also is still valuable at the end of the game. So you do definitely want cash in front of you. However, a value card often will have more than $3 million in value to it. Not always, but it definitely can. Okay? Speaking of which, every player will have one of these reference cards. This reference card basically just tells you how many of each value are sitting here in the value cards. Okay? So, as an example, there are two 4.5 million, but there are 4 cards in here that say 5 million. There's also 2 10 million and 2 forgeries. So you don't know what you're going to get if you choose to take the value card. Now, if you take the value card instead of just the cash of 3 million, you're going to take that card, and first you are able to look at that card and see what its value is. In this case, it's good. It's $7 million. And then I would simply just add it to any painting I so choose and clip it to the back. So now I have 2 value cards. Okay? So if I end up selling this at some point in time, especially like on a private auction, it is important to let the other players know it has 2 value cards, because then that means that they're most likely going to be bidding higher for it, knowing that this painting technically has a top value now of $20 million as opposed to only $10 million. Okay? Now, when I mentioned forgeries before, if you happen to draw a forgery, okay, if you draw it from the painting from a bank auction, it goes on that and it is a forgery. If you draw it as only as a value card, you cannot just set this aside. You must still put the forgery card with one of your paintings that you own. And it instantaneously makes that painting completely worthless. So it doesn't matter whatever you had on it before, it is now, the second it touches a forgery, a forgery. So a forgery card can make a good painting of good value worthless, but a good money card can never make a forgery card worth anything. Okay, so in this case, if I put the forgery here, well, this one was worth $5.5 million before, now it's worthless. Okay, you're not sunk yet though. It is possible to still get rid of this and still make money on it. Okay, I mentioned the private auction before. If that happens to you and you have the forgery, I would highly advise that you're putting that forgery up for auction, because then whatever they bid, you're getting the money for, and then that's one way of still being able to make money on a forgery. And then as you pass that over, you've passed that problem to them. Okay. Now, may sell any painting to the bank. That is selling a painting directly for its exact value on the back of your cards. Okay? So if I was selling this painting as an example, this has one of 7 million and one of 7.5 million, so I would get $14.5 million in cash from the bank for selling this painting to them. Now, So may sell painting to the bank is pretty straightforward. May buy painting from the bank for X amount. And some of them say 3 million, some of them say 4 million, some of them say 2.5 million. But basically, you are able to buy this top painting for $3 million. And then you would take the top value card associated with that, if that's what you were buying and decide to do. But you don't have to buy it, it is an option. Okay? Now, if it says sell painting to the bank for $3.5 million, you must sell one of your paintings, if you have a painting, for $3.5 million. Again, that is a good time to get rid of something that has low value, especially a forgery. So then you're ending up getting $3.5 million in value for something that is worthless. So that is another good way of potentially getting rid of a forgery where you can still potentially make money on it. Okay? Inherit painting from the bank. Pretty straightforward. You literally are just going to take your top painting and your top value card, clip them together, and that is yours, regardless of the value on the back of it. Okay? The last thing on here is may buy a painting from any player for X amount, and it's usually $3.5 million. At this point in time, all players, other than yourself, with a painting must offer at least one painting forward. And if you so choose, you can buy that painting from them for $3.5 million. You do not have to do so. And realize that if they know that they're only getting $3.5 million for it, they're most likely going to put up their least valuable painting that they have. However, it is also a good time in this case, as an example, this person right here only has one painting and it has 2 value cards on it. So that is most likely an excellent deal, and a lot of times that person will end up going ahead and getting that for $3.5 million for 2 value cards on the back, realizing that this person doesn't have any defense against selling it. They have to sell if you so choose to do that. So every single player would be offering up at least one painting to you if they have it. Then you continue through the game on like so. By the way, doubles don't mean anything. It's just simply about where you're landing. And every single time you land, you're doing what that space sets. Okay? As you go through your paintings, as I mentioned before, you'll get down to the bottom of the deck. When the last painting is gone, the game ends. At that moment in time, everybody will basically pull up whatever you have in regards to your paintings, just in your value cards. Okay? Keeping in mind that forgery makes anything absolute zero that it is attached to. So you definitely want to try and get rid of any forgeries you have before the end of the game, if at all possible. You don't want to be stuck sitting there with it. Okay? But if your painting has value, then just simply place it off to the side, count your cash and your value cards, and that is your total amount that you have. The person with the highest total amount at the end of all auctions, so all paintings are gone, is the winner of the game. Now, as I said, this game takes approximately 45 minutes to an hour and a half to play, depending on how many people you have. If you have 6 people, expect the longer end of that. If you have fewer people, 3 or 2, you're probably talking the 45 minutes to an hour range. Okay? That is Masterpiece. Fairly straightforward and simple. It does get a little bit complicated, like I said, when you are trying to potentially get rid of a forgery, but not too bad. And fairly simple and straightforward, and that's Masterpiece. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.